Hey everybody, it's Luigi Scarcelli. It's Friday PM. We got a great show for you. We've got interviews all night. First couple of guys have a film called Nice People. They're a lot of fun, local guys. We're going to go to that, and we're going to have a few more interviews after that. So stick around with us. We'll see you after this.
Hey, I'm real sorry about, well, everything.
No, you don't got it. Look, the peanut butter's more difficult, but that doesn't mean you don't do it. Sometimes we do things that are hard because it makes us stronger.
Your Aunt Linda heard about these people on CNN.
You monster! That's racist.
Watching CNN isn't racist. This guy's trying to fly the coop.
What? Hello! Cool it.
Hey, we're back. I'm with Ian Carlson and Jeff Grieche. They are the writer and director of the new film that's premiering at Space Gallery tonight, Thursday night, and Friday night. It is sold out, guys, right? So you won't be able to see it there, but hopefully they will be able to tell us where we can see it upcoming, though it is in the festival circuit now. So let's find out a little bit more about you guys. Jeff, I met Ian before. We worked together. I don't know too much about you. Are you from Maine yourself?
I grew up in Massachusetts, but I came. Oh, thank you. I grew up in Massachusetts, but I came to Maine for college. Stuck around afterwards, and have more or less been here since.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about yourself, Ian? You're a native-born Maine?
Not born. I was born in Haverhill, but I've lived here since I was 3. So, yeah, from southern Maine, Waterboro.
Waterboro?
Yep. When I turned 18, I moved out to the big city of Portland, Maine, and never looked back.
Exactly, right? This is where it's all happening. So why don't I'll ask more about you guys personally because I find that interesting, but how did you guys hook up together?
Yeah. I was in USM Theater, and there were some auditions for the Media Studies department for folks doing short films, and it was do you remember the name of the film?
Motel Mission.
Motel Mission was the name of the film. That was written by Kate Kaminsky, one of the professors there, and basically like showed up to this set as a theater actor, knowing nothing about film, and and saw this guy over there wearing his Skim the Cape shirt and with his cool hat on, and was like, oh, cool, like this guy seems nice, and we hit it off. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you guys collaborated before on probably other projects too?
Yeah, you want?
Sure. Yeah, that student film was the first time I met and worked with Ian, and after that we were kind of hooked. And we have done numerous projects since then, and this feature film is the most recent. We've done a number of short films together. We did a feature-length documentary a number of years ago. Yeah, we put a lot of work in together. Yeah.
So let's talk about the film a little bit. What should the audience know a little bit more about this film and what the origin of it was?
Sure. So Nice People, a little bit more info about it. Ian and I started formulating ideas for short films that we wanted to make. At the time, I was really gung-ho on wanting to make a feature film. We had done a number of shorts together, and I really wanted to go for something longer. And Ian was the smart one who was encouraging us to do more shorts. And so we kind of came to a happy medium and decided we would do 5 short stories and squish them all into one film as an anthology. So that's kind of, that's how the whole structure of the film started. And they're all short stories that have interconnected characters. They all take place in generally the southern Maine area. That's a little bit of background info.
Yeah. And what's kind of interesting too, and because I've done the anthology type of thing. When you're an independent filmmaker and everybody has another life and you can't take everybody away as actors, it's easier too, right? Logistically, because then you can have a shoot schedule where you can shoot with somebody at a certain time and mix and match. Was that helpful too in that sense?
Yeah, I think that was doing the anthology film route, while like very difficult to execute story wise and to make it like cohere as a film. We spent a lot of nights trying to figure out, okay, how did the stories line up? What does this do? What does this do? And like sort of like, what do we need in this story that we haven't written yet? Like, where is that going to go and fit into this? So there was a lot of struggle, sort of like fine tuning that and honing that and figuring out what we had. But in terms of budgeting for a low budget film, it was a fairly successful model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think for those types of films, there's always like a lot of scotch tape going into the script to make it all put together and things. But it was what was if it's not a spoiler or anything like that, like what was the thread of the folks? A personal thread? Was it more of a socioeconomic type of thing?
Well, Nice People is 5 interconnected Maine tales about people suffering from kindness. And so that is the sort of common thread. So you're watching these separate stories that overlap in a very sort of New England sort of way, where it's like, oh, that minor character from this film is actually the main character in this film, and her niece is one of the other characters in another film. And so it has that sort of everybody knows everybody, smallest town sort of vibe. But yeah, a lot of the characters, basically each character encounters a complex problem. They try to do the right thing. They think they know what they're doing. And they look for a solution that's, the easiest, simplest, and hopefully like the correct solution. And sort of the comedy and the drama that unfolds is sort of, the question is, how long will it take them before they accept that things are much more complicated than they initially thought?
And you're, as we said, you're the writer co-wrote it somewhat together.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Jeff is a fantastic, has a fantastic mind for story, where I came from a lot of experience in playwriting, and so did a lot of the screenplay, and we worked together on certain ideas. Each story has like we had a different lead to it, and sort of shared we shared the sort of creative burden of like figuring out like, okay, like, sort of, because it came around ideas of like, this stuff is inspired by stories that we've heard from friends that like have like a little seed, and then we take it and we like make it into something else. So it's very, very grounded in the Maine community.
And you also act as well. Do you act in this film also, or yeah?
I do.
Okay, you do.
Yeah.
So, is your background? Because are you also an actor as well, or just behind the scenes?
No, I'm just a camera guy. Yeah.
Ian, does your background in acting, does that help you with the casting process, in the sense that that's one of the hardest things to find as a filmmaker, is who can really deliver.
Yeah.
And you've worked with people, so you kind of had a backlog. And as a writer, do you then know who you can write for, and you can almost reverse engineer some of the...
Well, Luigi, that is actually very, very close to what exactly happened. So, and Jeff can attest to this too, like we've sort of, in our films over the years, and in my experience with the Portland theater scene, and Jeff's also experienced working on other local films, we sort of find people that we run into on other projects and sort of keep in our back pocket of like, oh, I'd love to work with this person, or like, hey, did you see this person in this? Like, oh, they're very good. Or, sometimes it's like, you bring someone onto a project in a smaller role, suddenly they're amazing, and you're like, oh, we're going to work with these people some more. Actually, in the case of a couple of people who even, a couple of the actors who actually auditioned for Nice People we did a little bit of rewriting to be like, once we found an actor for a part, like expanding upon that part, just because we're like, oh, this person like, you know, suddenly brings so much more depth to that character that we're like, let's let them shine a little bit more.
Yes. I'm happy to expand on that if you'd like. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it was Ian and I kind of observing theater in town, and like Ian said, other film projects that we've worked on, and finding talent from those that we wanted to try working with ourselves. And when we found those folks that really resonated with our style, we did our best to incorporate them more into the project if we could. And oftentimes we would find ourselves writing for these particular actors, knowing that either we had them lined up for this role or we hoped that they would be interested in it after drafting up some scripts for them.
Reading the script. Yeah. And that's an ideal position to be as kind of writer directors, rather than being handed a script and then going through the casting and trying to figure out how to shove something into a hole that doesn't fit. That idea of finding folks that fit the roles, and you've worked with these different folks, actors, on other projects before?
Some of them, yeah. Some we have had experience with. Like, for example, Bill Steele is a actor we've worked with rather, for a long time now. He's a good old dear friend of ours. But other folks that were on this project, they were the first times that we've worked with them. Then some of them, it's the first time they acted on camera before. So it's kind of all across the gamut in as far as Maine talent is concerned. Yeah.
And so another question about the film: how, if it is sold out, and by the time we'll be broadcasting this, it'll probably be like right after the film is played on Friday night, though we'll probably be on social media earlier.
Okay.
But how, since it's sold out anyway, will this be able to be something that people can see sometime soon, or are you lining that up still?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We've got a screening that is going to be lined up, and since this is premiering after Space, we have another screening that we've just lined up at the Portland Museum of Art on December 16th at 3 p.m. And we'll be doing ideally other screenings throughout the state. We're reaching out to other local cinemas and stuff like that, just to sort of bring it around the state, because really it is a story about Maine, and it's a story about this quality in this character that like sort of combines us as a community, as a people, even though we might come from very different places.
Okay. How can they get in touch with you guys to learn more about it? Is there a social media for this, email, places to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So if people are interested in checking out more about the film, we have a website, mintfilms.net, which will have, we're continuing to keep updated with screenings, and that is the place to get the best information about where this film is going to be. And as we move further on down the line to distribution and stuff like that, that'll be the spot to go for that. There's also an Instagram at Nice People Movie. Yeah.
I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you again, Ian.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
It's almost Christmas, and Noelle, a successful but unhappy office worker, is dreading the thought of spending yet another Christmas alone. Though she's been out actively participating in the dating scene, she just can't seem to meet Mr. Right. However, against her wishes and her better judgment, her boss forces her to embark on a less than scrupulous mission to purchase a Christmas tree farm located in Crabtrap, Maine. There, she meets handsome and available Jack, who just happens to be the person she needs to trick into selling his farm. Inevitably, they fall in love, and along the way, Jack teaches Noelle some small-town values. Noelle's loyalties are strained to the breaking point. If she fails her mission, she loses her job. If her mission is successful, she loses Mr. Right. What will she do? Watch A Down East Christmas and find out.
Hey everybody, we're back again with Nargis. Alizada, is that correct?
That's
pronunciation?
correct. Thank you.
And Nargis has a one-woman show coming up at the Footlights Theater in Falmouth. Could you tell the audience when that's going to be?
So my one-woman show, Nargis Alizada, A Life Within a Life, is coming on the Thanksgiving weekend on November 24th and 25th at 7:30 at Footlights Theater.
Yes, and tickets are available. I think you can find that on their website. So Nargis has a very interesting story. You grew up in Azerbaijan.
That's right.
So Azerbaijan is technically in Russia or near Russia or that area?
It's near Russia. It used to be the part of the former Soviet Union. So it's between three big countries, Russia, Iran, and Turkey.
Okay. So big empires of different times, yeah. And so the Soviet Empire was pretty big at one time. But were you, as a child, was it still involved in being a part of the Soviet Empire at that time?
Yes, that was still under the communist regime.
Okay.
And I was a child, and I remember these days very well, and I talk in my show about these days.
Okay, interesting. And so we got to talking a little bit earlier, and it was your grandmother that was a singer in the opera?
Yes, she was a famous opera singer in Azerbaijan, in the former Soviet Union, touring a lot in the former Soviet Union and Eastern Europe at the time.
And what was that? Were you at the age where you were able to see her at all, or was that before your time, or?
Unfortunately, I couldn't see her on the opera stage, even though I were at her concert. And when I was a child, she was already the head of the vocal department in a conservatory.
So probably in the old days of the Soviet Union, they didn't really let kids into the opera or anything, maybe even. Might have been very strict about who could go.
I think above the age of 12, you could bring kids, but otherwise the kids could have been noisy. That's why they were not allowed.
Or the few operas that I went to when I was younger, a lot of times they would be falling asleep because it's if you don't understand any of it. But she had a great vocal range. And were you close with her a little bit?
I was very close with her, and she was the one who actually introduced me to the classical music, to opera, to ballet, and that's how I started playing piano and got quite serious with piano lessons.
So as a child, you were serious about the musical arts? Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, and I was very close to her. I kind of grew up with her.
And so did you do only music, or were you also doing dance or things like that, or?
Dance and acting.
And acting too, okay.
Yes.
So that fits with what you're doing performative at the Footlights. But you had said that your dad he rejected that part of your life a little bit. Was that true, or he was more serious about what he wanted you to do?
Oh yes, he wanted me to do anything except for acting.
Right.
Because, as he said, one actress in a family is enough.
Right.
Yes, because he kind of grew up on his own. My grandmother was a single mother, and he was spending his days mostly alone because she was practicing, rehearsing, and at night she was performing. So he wanted my kids to have enough of my attention and me having a proper life.
And so do you think that he projected a little bit of his heartache as a child onto you?
Oh yes.
Because that's what he had grown up with, so he didn't want that to be his grandkids. But you had always kept that love. But did you go to college there, or were you already in the U.S. when you were in college age?
College age, I was in Baku, Azerbaijan.
Okay. Right.
Yes, and my mother is a mathematician, so
Okay.
I studied math.
Studied math. All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then I became an accountant, and later I was working in finance, the finance director of a group of companies. Now I'm the accounting revenue manager working here in Portland, Maine. But this love has all this passion. Yeah, it has always been alive. And I was trying to find this stage wherever and whenever I could.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like nothing could be further from that performing arts than math. It's very stiff and rigid, and a lot of creativity in math. It's either right answer or wrong answer. I think.
Correct.
Seems like that's how it is. But did you get to do any? What was it? Because by the time you were at college age, you might have been able to be more independent. Were you able to do any creative things there outside of your father's wishes, or be in plays, or very much with the math?
Very much with the math. I started working quite early, and so I was pretty tied up with all that stuff. But later, when I moved to Moscow, so prior to coming to Maine, I had been living in
You lived in
Moscow.
Moscow,
Yeah,
okay.
I lived in Moscow. So I did 1 year course according to Stanislavski method, and it was pretty intense. And we were performing a lot. We were practicing a lot. That was so creative. It was just nurturing my soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the course I did in Moscow, and I was performing, I was singing as well and dancing.
And so it seems for people in the US like very similar probably to if you grew up in a small town in the US and moved to New York, where all of these new creative opportunities and meeting a lot of different people, expanding your social circle of friends. And so you studied some of the acting there. And then at what point in your life did you move to the US, and how did that come about?
So I'd been thinking about doing my MBA, Masters of Business Administration, like for years.
Yes.
And finally, I made a decision that I wanted to change my life. I wanted some big changes. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to the US to do my MBA, because MBA as a program was born in the US, and one of the best schools are here, one of the best programs. So that's how I made a decision and moved to the US.
Yeah, and I think it seems like there's a lot of international students that come for business, and that's because it's so world renowned.
Yes.
And so when you got here, what year was that again?
It was 2019,
2019.
just before COVID.
Just before COVID, okay. And was it straight to Maine?
Straight to me, correct.
And so in the show, it's could you tell us the title of it again?
So Nargis Alizada, A Life Within a Life.
Life Within Life. So I know that you, without getting too specific, because we don't want to spoil too many parts of the play, you dealt with some tragedy that shaped your viewpoint on spirituality and things of that nature. Is that something you can expand upon without telling too much about that?
Sure. The tragedy which I lived at the time was a big transformational point for me. And I started kind of living small chapters in my life. And I was quite aware and conscious of what was happening with me. And that's where the name of the show comes from, A Life Within a Life. So, and that was also prior to my move to the US. And one of the reasons coming to the US, it was this, the experience of so-called post-traumatic experience, because people either get sad or depressed, or they start growing, a big transformation starts. So my move to the US and whatever is happening in my life nowadays is kind of a result, the outcome of that big transformation.
It's like a kind of a butterfly going from the cocoon in a sense, or so you felt like at a time in your life that you really had a couple of choices, and one was to grow from the experiences that you had, and the other was to stay in the same place, or sometimes people can move backwards, and you grew from it. And had you had any idea that you would enjoy so much living in Maine, or has it been exciting for you?
It has been very exciting. Me and my kids will love Maine, and I just feel that I'm blessed being here. Very nice people. I made great friends. And the nature is beautiful. The climate is very good.
That's nice, yeah.
Yes, it's very good. The water is so tasty.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe you guys take it for granted.
Right.
Yeah, but I can tell that the water is tasty and fresh, and so yeah, I've been enjoying my experience living here. I had no idea what the experience would be because I just made a decision, I'm going there. And I made some research prior to coming here, and I saw that the criminal level is very low. And me coming like a single mother with 2 kids, it made sense that it was a good place to start living in the US.
Yeah, yeah. And it's and are your children involved in the arts too? Is that something they enjoy or any balance?
My younger daughter, she's an artist, she's a dancer, a singer, an actress, a writer.
Wow.
Yes.
So could be the next one woman show. Maybe it's hers. And so if you want to catch the show, could you tell the audience a little more how they can find that and where that would be? Because I think you have a lot of fun if you check the show out.
Of course. So the website of the Footlights Theater, www.footlightstheater.com, all the information is there. You should call the theater and ask them to reserve your seats. And you pay at the door, and it's pay as you can. So again, it will be on November the 24th, 25th at 7:30 at Footlights Theater in town.
And this is a great show for people who want to learn more about cultures, experiences, growth. It sounds like there's a lot of ups and downs. Definitely check that out. Thank you very much, Nargis. I appreciate you coming here. We'll be right back. Thanks.
Thank you.
Look like after sex I'd have a candy cigarette though. I'm not gonna lie. I look like my parents dropped me off at middle school and never picked me up. I just grew up on the bench waiting around. Guys, I'm 5'5". That's a great height. That's great. It's 2 of the same numbers back to back. That's good. Next one, that is 4'4". And if I was 4'4", then man, I'd probably. Shit, I don't know what would happen. I'd probably be dead. No, but it's cool being 5'5". I have an average size penis on me. It looks pretty big, so that's kind of nice. Call it portion control. You serve the meal on a smaller plate, you'll feel like you had more.
Hey, I'm back here with the great Keith Hebert. Keith is a local stand-up comedian, sketch comedy player. He's doing a lot of stuff with multimedia. How you doing, Keith? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. How you doing, Luigi?
Doing good, doing good. We're here in the studio, which it could be day, it could be night. Nobody knows. But we are at night, and we're doing the comedy special. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit because I saw you at a couple different events. I saw you at Tim Hoffman's Comedy Shack, doing some different spots there. I've seen you with some improv groups. I've seen some of your YouTube clips. So did you grow up here in Maine yourself, or?
No, I actually grew up in Massachusetts, and I thought about it just in the past month. You know, I thought about why am I here? Like, what brought me to Maine? And it's funny, I applied to one college and I got in, and it was in Maine.
Right.
And if I didn't apply to that one college, I might not be here. It's the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing.
And what college was that college?
It was University of New England.
Okay.
And I didn't do well in high school. I was the classic guy that just did not want to do homework. And I mean, my teachers were like, "You're smart, but you're not applying yourself at all." And I was like, I need to apply myself a little bit here. So like at the finish line, I was like, I got to show schools that I can do something. And then I guess UNE was like, maybe there's some potential in this guy. Let's maybe give him a chance in the business school. And also there's only 5% men that go here, so we need to just get more men. So whatever it takes, let's get one in here.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because when you said UNE, I thought, well, gee, maybe you went to be a doctor or a dentist, but kind of
certainly not.
Certainly not, yeah, on the business side.
They're a renowned business school.
Yeah. So,
I'm sure no one's ever heard of. I actually ended up transferring the next year to University of Southern Maine. So
you landed in Maine. What part of Mass were you from?
I was from Marblehead, Massachusetts.
Marblehead, okay. And so then you've been living here ever since. Like, what kind of was the first time that you got yourself feeling the comedy bug? Was that in adult life or when you were younger? Or
well, it's funny. Like when I was a little kid, one of my best friend's mom had like all these CDs and stuff, and we saw a George Carlin album, and it was the one that has his face on it, and it says parental advisory, explicit lyrics is like half the album, and so as like a fourth, fifth grader, we're just like, oh, this is going to be good. And then we just put that on and we just thought it was the funniest stuff ever. And I was like, man, that'd be a great job or like a great thing to do, stand-up comedy. And in college, I actually saw an advertisement for like a, funniest student competition. And I'd never done stand-up. So I was like, oh, I'm going to try stand-up finally. And I did it. And like, it was okay. Like I got some laughs. Like, I don't really remember doing it, though it was filmed. And I don't know, maybe USM still has that footage somewhere from 2006 or whatever. But yeah, it was filmed. And I didn't do comedy for another year till they did the competition again. And then I ended up getting like second place. And then I didn't do comedy again after that for like 5 or 6 years because I just didn't know how to do comedy. Like I was going to improv stuff, meeting different people that were performing as comedians, and I just wouldn't meet a lot of stand-ups. And the one guy I met was like, hey, you should go to I was living in California for a little while, I should mention. He was like, you should go to the Ice House and do comedy. And I was like, okay. And I look it up and it's like there's like famous comedians performing there. I'm like, there's no way I could do this. This is insane. So I just like resigned to the fact that I guess you just don't ever find a way to do comedy with regular people. And then one day I was back living in Maine and I saw an ad for an open mic comedy at Slancha, which is no longer there on Preble Street. And then I went to that, and that was kind of how I started going pretty regularly.
And have you kind of amassed yourself in the local comedy scene? Because I know it's pretty tight knit. I mean, it's not a ton of people. It seems like everybody kind of knows each other. Yeah. And so how's that been kind of navigating that scene? I know we were talking to Carlo before about, everybody's still waiting for that one place to kind of call home. And know who that will be to open that place, because it's interesting with I was talking to him briefly about it, but I didn't get a chance to as much about how back when I was younger there was the Comedy Connection on Commercial Street, and that was like the place that was riding that wave of the 80s and 90s comedy boom, and that's where Bob Marley came from, George Ham, who's kind of here and there. There's a couple other guys that you probably never heard of that kind of went on to do other things. After that closed down, I mean, that kind of coincided with when stand-up comedy kind of slowed down in some ways. But it never went away. I mean, it's kind of like what I look at, like when I was a kid in the 80s, skateboarding got really big. This is like mid 80s. And then everybody had a skateboard because they would sell them at like Toys R Us and stuff. And so then after that, it was like, oh man, it's not cool to be a skateboarder anymore. Went underground and it stuck around the whole time, and then it's popped back up as big. And so comedy became a subculture again, where now it's kind of pop-ups and things. But is that kind of what's going on in the scene, or what's your feelings on the Portland comedy scene?
Well, I've been involved in it for 10 years or so. More seriously for, I'd say, eight or nine. But it's like I kind of got in right after the Comedy Connection had closed. So I was sort of after all that happened. And for a long time, there was just certain venues that would have shows, and I would go to them. Like, Empire was one that would have a show. Blue would have comedy shows. And there'd be, a variety of different open mics that would pop up, and all the comics would go to them. Various businesses that have like all closed. I feel like every business that runs an open mic, like that is not a venue, closes. Like if it's a restaurant and there's an open mic there, it's going out of business.
Right.
I hate to say it. It's kind of a curse, actually. Of all the places that are restaurants that have open mics, they've gone out of business for the most part. Like,
it could be crazy. It could be a curse, or it could also just be like, it's kind of, no offense to the stand-up comedy thing in Maine, but that's like the last leg of the place. They're like, we got to figure out something to do.
Well, let's get these
let's try this
alcoholics in here.
Exactly.
Let's fix the problem. Maybe we can sell some drinks.
They're throwing anything at the wall at that point because the books are going down. But I mean, are you bullish that, or do they need a comedy place of their own here? I mean, is that,
There's actually, literally today, Empire Comedy Club made a post signaling that it's going to come back.
Okay.
And I can't share any details yet, but I'm supposed to be on the first show.
Awesome. So you can't share the details, but where could they should just check on the Empire website?
Yeah, if you follow Empire on social media, Empire Comedy. You will see
some of that.
Events.
And where can people, by the way, find you on? Is the best way to find you on social media a little bit, or?
Yeah, I would say it's gonna be Instagram, and my handle is The Big Shred.
I like it.
It's The Big Shred because I'm also a guitar player. I just can't pick a hobby, man.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm a total, like, I gotta do everything.
But the fact that you got the Big Shred handle on Instagram is pretty cool, because you didn't have to be like Big Spread 108432 or something.
No, I didn't. I have no numbers, because if you have numbers after your name that's not like a year, you're a robot on Instagram. That's all robots. If you get someone that's like, E24897, come on, who's talking to that person?
Exactly. Because who was it that was the Big Shred 1, 2, 3, 4? That then they get to be Big Shred 1085, 6, and all that. Yeah. I know you want to talk a little bit about a couple of things I had here that we had chatted about. Let me just take a quick look at that.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk a little bit about kind of like the other multimedia things that you guys are working on, like the YouTube, the Instagram Reels?
Yeah, definitely. So I have a few things going right now. I bought a camera, like an okay mid-level camera, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna start learning how to like edit in Adobe Premiere, and I'm gonna make some videos with my buddies. So I actually started a podcast with my friend Mo Awale. It's called Mo Keith Time. We put them out every Wednesday, and they're on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen to that. And also on YouTube and Instagram, I have Compass Mouth with two of my buddies, Mike Hallinan and Preston Haynes. And we have a couple of animated things that we've put up on there, and then some of the clips from our Instagram that we're trying to put on there as well.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that I had seen that you were doing before, I don't know if that was the Compass Mouth too, where you'd kind of do it was the Keith Hebert show, actually, and I loved a lot of those.
I had a little show I did at the beginning of the pandemic. I had started this little, like, it was like a 5-minute weird vlog I did, like, for about a month, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, I guess I don't have a ton to talk about here, or maybe I can take this in a really weird direction. So I just started making this kind of absurd show where I play all the characters, and there's about 20 of them on my YouTube page. It's just the Keith Hebert Show.
Yeah, they're definitely a lot of fun. Yeah, fast paced.
Yeah, will it come back? I don't know. Right. I mean, I might at some point. I still got to find Karen's sweater, if anyone gets that reference.
Right.
But,
yeah.
I'm looking for Karen's sweater.
Karen's sweater.
if anyone's seen a nice purple sweater, that's really what's holding me up from doing this.
Doing it, yeah.
And I had a kid, and I missed an opportunity for Karen and Bad Boy Keith to have a kid. So,
Well, so what's is there any other ways people should look you up? I know that we're going to be playing this on the Friday that's at the 1st of November. So is there any shows coming up? Just look you up on your kind of Instagram, see what you're up to.
yeah, check me out on Instagram, The Big Shred, Mo Keith Time, Compass Mouth. All those things are all good spots for my content. And as far as upcoming shows, I have one in Bangor, but that's actually will have already happened.
Will have already happened unless
But
your time.
after that, you can come to my open mic.
Okay.
Every it's going to be every Tuesday starting in January, but right now it's sort of sporadic. It's every Tuesday in November except for the Thanksgiving week. We're not doing one that week. And then December, it's every week in December except for the week before Christmas.
Week before Christmas.
Yeah, the 19th is not going to be an open mic, but all the other Tuesdays are going to be open mics at 9:30. It's at 650 Congress Street at Blue, and you can go there. You can sign up, do 5 minutes. So far, we've had, around a dozen people will sign up for the open mic, and we get a pretty decent audience because there's a music open mic. A lot of people show up for that, and some people hang out and stick around, and you get to kind of have at least some audience there. So it's nice.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Check out Keith Hebert, a very funny guy, and we'll be right back. Thanks.
Are you ready? Set? Go!
Do you have any credit cards?
One.
I don't know. I just can't stop getting them. First it was the gold, then it was the platinum. And now if you really want to be a real baller and get into the best clubs, it's all about the baby blue. It's like I'm addicted to the plastic,
Oh. And you managed that all.
It's almost Christmas, and Noelle, a successful but unhappy office worker, is dreading the thought of spending yet another Christmas single.
I swear, there's millions of guys, and I only meet the ones with really serious baggage or who just want to hang out like we're still in college.
I have met some really nice guys on Alaskan cruises where there's always bingo.
Not really a bingo or cruise gal yet.
Oh, because the speed dating is working out so well for you.
I'm pretty tall. I'm 5'10", but you look like you're, Jack and the Beanstalk kind of tall.
Though she's been out actively participating in the dating scene, she just can't seem to meet Mr. Right.
Seriously? This is what you're doing right now? Hi, who are you?
Unveiling Santa's Sleigh and Reindeer Casino and Resort. This is guaranteed to be hot all year long. There's one holdout on the land. Same guy and his grandson. The tree farm. But we need the perfect face they'll trust. You!
Me?
Yes, you. We need somebody who looks like they're a tree hugger for this closing.
Against her wishes and her better judgment, her boss assigns her the task of purchasing a Christmas tree farm located in Crab Trap, Maine.
Excuse me.
How can I help you?
I'm here to discuss buying your property. Is there a place where we can talk?
What's your name?
Noelle.
I'm Jack.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You can guess what happens next. They fall in love, and along the way, Jack teaches Noelle some small-town values.
People like Big Barry come into this town and take the one thing that people have left, which is their dreams, and then they steal their property in the process.
I was just trying to keep my job. They're ruthless, and I see now how much this would impact you guys, and that's not who I am.
Noelle's loyalties are strained to the breaking point. If she fails her mission, she loses her job. If her mission is successful, she loses Mr. Right. What will she do? A Down East Christmas. Now streaming.
He traveled all the way from Oars Island. Please welcome Carlo Rojas.
Thank you, Tim. Hi guys, my name is Carlo, not Carlos. I know people see this level of ethnicity and they add the S. I could look at you and say, my name is Carlo, and your brain goes, Carlos, I knew it. And I know this outfit doesn't help that either. As soon as I put it on, I'm like, oh my god, I look like I sell mangoes from the back of a truck. I realize I'm new to Maine, so I realize how I'm trying to assimilate to the culture, but some things are not culturally accessible to me. You know, like me trying to look like a mountain man, like the lumberjack look like everyone has up here. I end up looking like the 100% pure Colombian coffee guy, Juan Valdez. I'm also not Asian. I have to tell people that too. A lot of people think I'm like Chinese or mixed. I'm not. And I often get a lot of comments thrown at me, and sometimes it's racist, and the most racist of those comments come from Asian people themselves. It's happened my whole life. Originally I'm from New York City, and growing up there, I'm Colombian, but back in the 80s in Queens, there were these Chinese food places that assimilated to the culture, like Latino culture, and they did Cuban food really good. So we would go there. My family went there. And I was told the story. I was a baby, but my mom went there, and I was in the stroller, and the owner of the restaurant came over, and she was like, "You have the most beautiful Chinese baby I've ever seen." And my mom's like, "He's not Chinese, he's my son." And she's like, "He's the reincarnation of the emperor. You should respect him." I think we got free food that time. No, but this continued. I remember I dated an Asian girl for 8 months, and a month in, she looked at me straight in the face and she said, "I only swiped right because I thought you were Asian." I'm like, "I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry." But when I was with her, I got in with the Asians, and all her friends were Asian, and whether you're Korean, Chinese, or whatever, I noticed they all attribute all these innocuous things to being Asian. And this one time, it just reminded me of this one time when I was working for this company years ago in New York. And if you worked late enough at this company, they would pay for a car service home. This is years before Uber. And I remember coming outside and seeing the car there, and it was this black car service. It was always one of two drivers, an old Russian dude or an old Chinese dude. And I remember this one time I hopped in the back seat, I had my ID ready, and he's like, "Hey, who are you?" I'm like, "Oh, you're my ride. I'm Carlo." He's like, "Oh, I was expecting a Hispanic dude." I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's me. I'm Carlo." And he's like, "Yeah, but you look Chinese." I'm like, "I know, I get that a lot. I'm not." And I give him my ID. He takes it. He doesn't even look at it. He's just like, "Yeah, but why do you look Chinese?" And this is a problem because I'm hungry, I'm tired, and I don't know what to tell this guy. I'm Colombian. My parents are Colombian. Let's go. I've never seen an adult professional not do his job, and he's just standing there until he's gonna solve this mystery of why I look subtly Asian to him. So he keeps grilling me, and I'm just like, I don't know what to say, man. He's like, all right. Your family's from Colombia. Did your grandfather work for the railroads? I'm like, no, Jesus. I know what he's thinking. We got in there somewhere. He's like, all right. Did your grandmother bind her feet? No. Eventually, he just wouldn't let it go. He's like, what do you do up there? I'm like, at the building. I'm like, oh, I work on computers. He's like, okay. I'm like, what do you eat? I'm like, oh, I'm trying to eat healthier. He's like, no. What did you eat all the time growing up? I was like, oh, I ate, chicken, rice, and beans. He's like, white rice? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, that's Asian. You're Asian. And then he was able to drive me home.
Back here with Carlo Rojas. Carlo is a local comedian from New York City.
Correct.
Good to see you, Carlos.
Yes, thank you.
So I saw Carlo at, I keep saying Carlos, but I saw Carlo at.
Every day.
Exactly.
Literally.
I saw Carlo at Tim Hoffman's Comedy Shack. Carlo has been doing comedy for about a year. He was in improv before that, New York native. He's going to tell us a little bit more about kind of the burgeoning comedy scene here, but first let's get to know him a little bit. So you are from New York City area?
Yeah, originally, yeah. Thank you for having me, Luigi.
Sure, no problem, sure.
It's great to be here. I'm originally from New York City. I grew up in New Jersey for a bit until high school, then I went back to college in New York City, went to Pratt Institute, studied film there. And I did a lot of improv, I did a lot of sketch comedy with a lot of friends. Some of my friends went on to do stand-up comedy, and I hung around clubs for a long time. But my career path went into telecommunications because I had a lot of student loan debt that I had to pay off.
Exactly right.
You know, I didn't really think comedy was going to pay the bills, so I went a different path. But yeah, I did that for years, and I still work out of Manhattan. But over the last year, or after the pandemic, after everything, I said goodbye to New York, New Jersey. I was done. I didn't want to live there anymore. Then I decided on Maine because it's really one of the most beautiful places in this country. It's absolutely gorgeous. I just wanted clean air, clean water, and reasonable rent. And I had to go about 6 hours away from Manhattan to find it, but I found it. You know.
Yeah, nature and things of that. That it's just some of the stresses that you see in the bigger cities that we had, especially during COVID, are a little bit less here. So growing up, were you always a funny kid? I mean, that's always the question that people are going to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I was always, silly. I was definitely, weirder than maybe other people. I was trying to, make my friends laugh, all the time. That was definitely my game growing up. It was the best way to, cope with anything going on. But at the same time, I think everyone, that's how you make friends. You definitely just, try to make your friends laugh.
The class clown kind of thing here and there.
Not everyone. No, I mean, sometimes, I'd just be silly for silly sake, and then you lose friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you don't want to go too far. But.
So you were doing improv too.
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah. What was kind of improv in the city? That seems kind of exciting.
It was really exciting, man. When I was going there, it was around the time when it was starting to blow up, and before it had blown up, the improv scene in New York City was really interesting with the Upright Citizens Brigade. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yep.
They used to be a show on Comedy Central. There was a group with Amy Poehler, Ian, Matt Walsh, Ian, and a couple more Ians.
I remember him. Yeah.
But they started a club in Manhattan, and this is years ago. They had a couple locations before they settled on a place in Midtown. But I remember some of the few early locations. I was seeing incredible comedians and improvisers and sketch writers and writers that went on to be on SNL, on other shows like The Office or Silicon Valley. And when I was in college, these people would come to our college and give us lessons, and it was really amazing, really great comedic talent coming out of New York City at the time. Then after about 10 years of that, I think a lot of that, the club scenes in New York City just became overwhelmed with a lot of students and a revolving door of classes and things like that. For better or for worse, it just did not become the image of New York City, which used to comprise the comedy clubs. The comedy clubs in New York City were definitely the people from New York City that had lived there their whole lives, and filling the audience and the stage, and having their own style of comedy. That definitely did change, but now it's going back. Stand-up is definitely a prominent, entertainment style that's huge, not just in New York City, but everywhere in this country.
So I mean, that you're kind of getting at the idea that it was like stand-up at the time. It was a culture, and so you'd go and you'd want to see New York comedy, and New York stand-up is a little grittier.
Oh, yeah.
And when you start having a lot of these improv things, I mean, I guess that's the influence of all these kids watching SNL or Mad TV even, or whichever.
Everything.
And so you had the Groundlings, you had Second City, and so Upright Citizens Brigade. That then was kind of where you wanted to go if you're going to go to New York and maybe get to that next level. If you wanted to be on Saturday Night Live or those types of things.
Right.
But you feel like it kind of, it maybe hit a bubble almost.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
And the theater's gone now. It's incredible because for years there was the Del Close Marathon. It was a great marathon of incredible improvisers and improv groups from all over the country coming together and doing a huge marathon. And that was like one of the best nights of weekends of comedy in the city. That just didn't maintain its status. And a lot of it, they closed down now. So they're gone. So what can I say?
It is interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like, and I think as Second City is still there. I think the Groundlings,
Sure.
and I think it's still, you find a lot of folks. I mean, it's like it's another way to kind of chase the dream.
I think it's a great skill set no matter what. I think improv is like a necessary way. Like if you have a community theater that have improv programs, do it because you're going to learn how to, feel comfortable in an interview. You have plenty of moments in your life where you do need those skills. So improv is a great skill set to learn any time of your life. It's good to, meet people. It's a great community thing. So beyond that, it is a great art form, but it's hard to translate that to television or to an act or, just to condense it. And it is such a live performance art. You got to be there for it.
Exactly. And so kind of how did that location change for yourself and all those kind of situations? transition you more into wanting to be the one guy up there? I mean, it's a very different animal.
That's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been on stage with a mic, and earlier this year is when I started doing stand-up, and I knew enough about stand-up that I knew how to prepare, but actually doing it and actually getting laughs and being confident with your material is totally different. So improv prepared me, but it really is a different beast. So there is no comparison. Stand-up is it's its own beast, and it could be anything, which I love. When you go up and when you go to open mics or anywhere, you really are able to learn a lot, even if maybe people aren't laughing, or whatever else. But the practice of it, the art form of it, is just limitless, and that's really interesting. So yeah, it is a huge challenge to try to do that on stage, on mic, even if you've been on stage before, even if you've been performing in front of people. It is a different thing.
Yeah, there's the empathy and feeling the room, I suppose, and just understanding how the waves of things go, because it's like surfing. I'm guessing you ride that wave. So do you write more biographical, or are you doing observational, a little mixture of a lot of things? Or
definitely, almost all my jokes come from something that's happened in my life. A lot of people might, not think so, because I might make a joke and that's ridiculous. It was like someone actually said that to me.
Right.
I won't, I won't lie about some things, but some stuff I will get silly, and it is the absurd, ridiculous twist, and you'll know when that happens. Right. But at the same time, all my jokes come out of something in my life, something I've experienced, a moment. Because if I don't experience it, it's kind of like a song you're reciting. If I don't feel the music, if I don't feel those words, it's not going to come out right. It's going to be insincere. So that's a lot of my method, is just trying to feel something first, and let me see if I can repeat this moment and make it funny.
Yeah, and if it's funny to you, the hope is it'll translate to the audience as well, right? Yeah, do you have a podcast upcoming, or you already started it?
Yeah, I've been gathering content for a podcast. Back in New York City, I did do podcasts with some stand-up comedians, but never did stand-up myself. But now, and that was years ago, I did take a break, focused on my career. But now that I'm doing stand-up, I definitely want to do more creative work, and I think the rebuild in the comedy scene in Maine is really interesting right now. So the game that I'm playing right now is I'm starting a podcast called Mainly Open Mics, and it's about the open mic comedy scene in Maine. There is not an established comedy club, but there are comedy groups. There are different shows that are being booked, and I've been on a few myself, obviously, Tim Hoffman's Laugh Shack. But beyond that, I do think that a lot of the talent that you're going to see emerge and become great are going to be those that are going to these open mics that are trying to do it every night of the week. Because there's not a comedy club here. There's not comedy shows every night of the week. There's maybe some on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but that's it. And it is limited because it's not as big as it could be. But again, we're in that rebuild phase. So Mainly Open Mics is going to be my podcast where I interview somebody from the open mic scene every week, and we talk about their path and what their process is and why they dare brave the stage, because it is a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, even if it's your first time. I'm really, amazed by people just trying it, and that part for me is, I'm never going to get sick of that, I don't think. So that's really fun.
And how can they find that podcast?
We're going to launch it on iTunes, Spotify. We're going to have it on YouTube. It's going to be called Mainly Open Mics. It's going to premiere this November 2023. I don't have a date yet, but probably about the second week in November, you're going to start to see episodes.
And I know you said that you're kind of slowed down on social media nowadays.
I'm on social media. I've been on social media, which is really hard. For one, comics up here, they're like, you have to be on social media. How are we going to promote you? And for two, I did it for my health. I'm just not a fan of social media. My life got a lot better. And this is just quick criticism of Maine. A lot of people up here, everyone's on Facebook. It's incredible.
Right.
I've gone into stores and talk to the owner and ask them their hours. They're like, oh, it's on Facebook. I'm like, yeah, I'm here at the store. I'm asking you.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
For a state filled with a lot of people that supposedly hate the government, hate liberal media, and hate corporations, you're sure all on Facebook a lot.
Exactly.
That might be the problem.
Right, exactly.
But I think it is a necessary evil sometimes. If it's a free website to promote your activities and get people interested. So yeah, I'm going to start a Facebook page. You'll see Mainly Open Mics on Facebook. You'll see it on Instagram, and you'll see it maybe on TikTok. I don't TikTok.
Yeah, I haven't tried.
Are you on TikTok?
I haven't tried it yet, but if anybody out there wants to learn more about you, the best way is just email you, maybe.
Yeah, if you
okay.
want to email me.
Carlo at, what's your email? Just in case.
This is the funniest. This is not even a joke. I still have a Hotmail account.
Hotmail account.
CRojas101@hotmail.com. I'm I have a Gmail.
A Gmail
I just
too.
use that one. That one's gonna get
Hotmail,
right
yeah.
to me. But I would love to. And again, I would love to see more audience members at the open mic scene. Free shows, guys. Great comics. We're trying out new stuff. There's open mics at Free Street in Portland. There's open mics at. I'm going to be starting one of my own at High Fidelity hopefully soon. There's going to be one. There's one Cheese Louise Tuesday nights. There's one at. They're starting one in Biddeford at Mulligan's on November 1st. That's going to be Wednesday nights. And there's also one at Empire now. Empire Chinese food.
Yeah, they
used to have shows there now, and now they're doing open mics again. So it's getting back to that rhythm of open mics every night of the week. Great comics coming out of that and getting their stuff polished, and then we're having great shows. That is fun. That is just really fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, Portland's got all this culture, and comedy's one of those things that's always interwoven in any city's culture. And why it took so long, but I think it is. I think that COVID took everything backwards like 5 to 10 steps, and everybody's been really reticent to even get back to movie theaters are still sitting empty. I mean, but people will start going back. I know people are having fun with it. Maybe outdoor ones here and there even. I don't know. I guess comedians always feel like comedy needs to be in a very closed and in space.
It
helps.
It does help. You don't want your words to echo too far away.
Right, exactly. Low ceilings, I heard, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it keeps the eyes on you.
Keeps eyes on you. No cell phones as much, or different things of that nature. I want to thank you very much, Carlo.
You, Luigi.
Carlo Roja. Check him out anywhere around performing. We'll be right back.
Thanks for having me over.
Oh, we're happy to introduce ourselves to our new neighbor.
Oh, honey, you are so sweet.
Wow. I wish I had a relationship like yours.
Well, what's your love language?
What?
Your love language. What makes you feel loved?
I would say mine is quality time. I just love spending time with Elise.
I guess I'd say avoidance.
What do you mean?
Like when she doesn't look at you or talk to you.
Oh, like playing hard to get. Yeah, that is a funny one.
And you're falling in love with everything she does? Eating, sleeping, tucking her hair behind her ear?
Yeah, but not actually sleeping.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to know what she's doing every moment of the day, but she can't know I'm there.
That kind of sounds like stalking.
Well, then I guess stalking is my love language.
Well, you can't do that.
Well, why not?
Well, the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch.
Oh, well then I'm quality time.
What?
We spend a lot of time together. We even have a couples song. It's the national anthem. She sings it every morning in the shower. An oldie but a goodie.
That's creepy.
Well, what about physical touch? It's not creepy if you're touching her all the time? I mean, that must be some kind of a...
Well, that's disgusting.
He's got a point.
Well, what about stalking someone online? You've never done that? You think that social media is reserved for people who respect boundaries?
Well,
who are you stalking?
The girl across the street. It's why I moved here.
Buying a house is a huge step in a relationship.
you know what? Shoot your shot with her.
Really?
Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, you can always be in paparazzi.
Well, I already have her front door key, so sneaking in flowers should be easy. Thanks, guys.
We're totally calling the cops, right?
Definitely.
Hey, everybody. We're right back here with John Duncan, the author of the book Take It Easy, Portland of 70s. John has been on my show before. It's an incredible book. It was a Maine bestseller a couple of Christmases. It's going to be coming up this Christmas, so you got to go buy it. It's a coffee table book. It's perfect to buy as a gift for somebody, especially somebody who grew up in Portland in the 70s, is nostalgic. It's a really awesome book with some great photos. We're going to get some of those photos. We'll kind of play those along as we go a little later. But in the meantime, thank you for being here, John. It's good to see you, sir. So let's talk a little bit about this book, because it's such an interesting story. So you were a photographer kind of in the 60s, kind of as a hobby almost.
Well, my dad gave me a camera when I was like in middle school, and that was back in the mid 60s. And then I was in camera club and got interested in doing it then. And then I didn't do anything for a while. Then I bought my first camera right up at Photoshop that's right across from Mecca. And started just taking pictures with that camera. A lot of this was all during that time in the 70s. I was driving cab and
Is like the life in the 60s and 70s in Portland. But you grew up, did you grow up, you said on Munjoy Hill area? Or?
I grew up in Falmouth.
Falmouth, okay. Because you had an interesting story about kind of being adopted and...
Right. So in the 70s, early 70s, when I was in my early 20s, I was adopted at birth in the East End, probably through the church, and grew up in Falmouth as an only child. And my mom was a school teacher in Falmouth in a small school, like a 2-room schoolhouse on Falmouth Fourth Side, and my dad worked at an American Can Company. And then in the early 70s, I found out that the adoption records before 1954 were open records. So I was born in 51. So I went over to the courthouse, went in, they had card catalogs like the old, pull out a draw, 3x5s, found my name, found a reference over to my birth mother. Took me a couple hours, kind of going through. Then I went through some city directories. I don't even know if they had city directories anymore. They'd publish these books every year. Followed her name through there because she got married, and I followed the change of the name through the marriages, and found her in the phone book, called her up, and said, "Hi, I'm John Duncan. You're supposed to be my mom."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I wonder when you call."
Yeah.
And she's living on Hampshire Street, 32, right 2 blocks, just the other side of Franklin Street, right above Tommaso's. And I went over and met her, and that was,
life-changing experience.
She had 9 kids.
And that's what I was going to say. I remember you told me that you had
With
a lot
a
lot of half siblings.
Right. And she worked at the Village Cafe, which was, a big thing in those days.
Big thing on Munjoy Hill.
Behind Macucci's, all torn down now and changed. And the guys that she knew and stuff, they all worked on the waterfront and stuff. And there were a lot of drinking and partying. And my siblings and half-siblings have told me how when they would be dragged over from one house to the other, because the families would party together, my mom and dad, who actually had their own families, were married to others, would disappear in the back room. So that's how myself and a brother Richard and another sister Martha, who was also given up for adoption, who I found back then, that's how we were probably conceived.
Conceived in the back rooms.
The kicker is that like about a year ago, I'm over at Calvary Cemetery in South Portland, the Catholic Irish cemetery. And I find the 2 stones are identical, the 2 families, and buried side by side. It's a hell of an East End story.
It's a Portland story. And that might be what kind of inspires you so in the days of the 60s and 70s, you're driving a cab,
Yeah.
you were out there in the city in Portland. So what I always look at this is that I find interesting is it's kind of like Portland, like a lot of mid-sized cities, they were super vibrant downtown until the malls came about.
Right, 71.
71. Is that when the main mall? Because everything was downtown, so you'd have your movie theater, which was the State Theater. You might have a lot of restaurants. The shops, the stores.
Lots of movie theaters, actually.
Movie theater. Well, that was all downtown, but then you could get to all that with easier parking at a mall. And now all of a sudden that pulled everybody from the downtown. Porsche's was a big store. So your photos, when you were walking around in those days, that was a slice of life from a Portland that really is unrecognizable to a lot of people now.
Yeah. And what's also been kind of cool is some of the kids in there that I did not know. I mean, there's some I did, and there's people.
Right.
I've connected with the adults.
With them as they've grown up,
so
right?
It's been this, making connections. And then I realized Portland more and more as I'm out on the streets, and it's kind of giving me a voice so people know who I am. I mean, a lot of times, especially when I pull out, I say, "Oh, have you seen the book?" And they'll say they're not sure, and then I show them the card with the book cover, and they say, "Oh, I've seen that book." Or some people come up and say, "Oh, I bought that for my dad," or something, So there's all these, and then they start telling stories.
Yeah,
it's,
this was a
it's
very
crazy.
famous picture in
Yeah,
here that you have
it's
of this
crazy,
girl.
yeah.
Well, so why don't you tell the audience, for those who haven't heard it before, about how this book came to be? Because you'd taken all these photographs, you kind of been just living your life, but then there was like a kind of a thing that happened in Bangor, right?
Well, I'd been posting them on Facebook, Portland Encyclopedia, 60s, 70s, 80s, which is a Facebook page that's existed for 20 years. And so people knew them there. And then Troy Bennett, who is a Bangor Daily News photojournalist based in Portland, came to me and said, I want to do an interview and an article because I've been seeing his stuff for so long. So he did that. It was on the front page of the Bangor Daily News in December of 2020. And then Christmas happened and New Year's. It came out, I think, on the 19th of December, as I remember. And from that, Islandport Press saw it. And then he contacted me and said, you need to contact these guys. They want to do a book. So it was kind of put on to me.
Yeah.
And then I spent 2021 putting it together, trying to find all these photos. I had, everything was in the cloud. I uploaded all these photos. So I just sent him all these links, and he started going through this stuff. And Dean Lunt, the guy that's the owner and publisher.
Yeah, the publisher,
Started going through, he sent me a stack of like 130 photocopies of the photos he wanted to use, but then I had to go and I was holding up the trying to find the negatives.
Find where all the negatives were from all these.
That took a lot of time. But that was during COVID too, so it was a good thing to
keep you busy.
Spend time with.
And were you always fastidious with the negatives and stuff? So you had
they're well kept.
Well kept,
I was surprised how well those kept. But,
and like an artistic note, I mean, you don't always shoot black and white, but if you shot it in color, you like to turn it black and white.
A lot of times.
A lot of times, because it gives a different look.
Yeah, now with digital, which I've embraced.
Yeah.
It took me a while. I always felt like it was kind of cheating. But
right.
Now and I'm still doing film too. And so...
the kind of the spontaneity of what you can do
with digital, there's a lot of things you can do
quickly.
Yeah.
Where in this book is this? I know somewhere there's a picture of yourself, right, from back in those days. Yeah. And
we've got I mean, they did this at the beginning here, which is kind of the fun one.
Yeah, when you were kind of the square.
We got high school.
Yeah.
And then we got.
And then look at this.
Couple of years after doing the brown acid at Woodstock. So
yeah, hanging out at Woodstock, exactly, and being.
That was a life changer.
That was a life changer. And did you get photos of Woodstock too? You didn't even.
I didn't even have a camera.
Yeah, it probably wasn't where you want to bring a camera.
It was the day. It was Thursday. We just heard about it. We bought tickets at Recordland, which is actually there's a picture in there of that place.
Yeah, I remember that.
Kind of where the Strange Maine is. And,
that's you too, right?
Yeah, that's me too.
Right there.
So we went up to and bought tickets for I think $20 or something, whatever it was.
Just
and then when
jumped
we
in
got
the
there,
van.
it was free.
Yeah.
So I just threw it.
Yeah, because they'd broken the fences down and everybody just ran in.
I should have kept it.
Yeah.
You know, and,
so tell the audience what you're doing now, because you do a lot of photography, street photography. You're working with a lot of bands. I've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing
music stuff.
Suntiki, Ian that owns that.
Ian.
Lets me come in anytime. You know,
Yeah.
I haven't been in a while, but I'm not out carousing every night. But so that's nice. You know, 'cause I get to hear new, and I don't have to. You know, I can hear new bands, and then I've been out to Monaco Studios, which is in Falmouth, and the Station, which is a local band. I've been kind of they did an EP, so I was out there then, and then I've been following them around a bit, and that's been fun.
I think I saw a video of those guys. I like them. Is that kind of fun music, upbeat?
But I'm looking forward to the Bumbling Woo-Ha's.
I know them.
I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Oh, they've been on the show. Yeah, I've seen them.
I was over at Gino's 3 weeks ago photographing. The Station was there. No, it was Kurt Baker was there.
Okay.
And he's been, grew up here, and his dad and I used to drink at Forest Gardens in the 70s. So I was over there, and there was this woman that I just was fixated on because of the way she was dressed, and I got all these photographs of her, and then I found out she was this woman Abbott, who's in this Bumbling Woo-Ha's.
Yeah.
And they're going to play on Halloween night at somebody's house. It might be 11. I forget. It's in a house kind of thing. But this Saturday is I can't say anything about it.
Can't say too much.
I can't.
Yeah,
it's just word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Let's forget about that.
Bumbling Woo-Ha's is very unique sound. They've been on the show twice actually. I had something with them at Suntiki, and then on the show. Pretty interesting folks, but also let the folks know about your wife is from Sweden. Haven't you done a lot of photographs in other countries, also at music festivals? Sometimes I felt like I saw you.
Glastonbury's been the big one.
Exactly,
I've been to the last
Glastonbury,
three,
right?
so-
Yep.
And I got the Victoria and Albert Museum in London.
Yeah.
Took 90 digital photographs to add to they're doing a digital project because it was the 50th anniversary of the festival in 2020, but it was delayed because of COVID, so it didn't happen until 2022. And then actually, so that was kind of exciting. And then I was living in Oakland, California in '77 when the Raiders won the Super Bowl.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
And I've got these pictures of them, people celebrating on the streets, and the Raiders actually, a guy saw the book. I sent the photos to a historical group in Oakland. They published it in their kind of quarterly little magazine last fall of 2022. And guy saw it in the library, and he contacted Islandport, who contacted me saying this guy wants to buy photos. I didn't know where he was from until I saw the email address ended in Raiders.com.
And they wanted
so
that.
So he bought 14 photos for a book. Well, he said, I don't know what we're going to use. He said, we're just collecting material. So
for the Raiders. And also the one other thing that was really interesting, and we'll show some of these pictures, you were in China before that.
Right, 83.
83.
So that's a whole other...
The whole other next show, right? Ball of wax, yeah, because we could do a whole show on that.
China that doesn't, everybody was dressed and looked the same in Mao suits,
And that was, you're saying it was 83? Yeah, before they.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should have brought my laptop. I
Well, we can take a look at those right in a second or two. Yeah. So, what's the best way for people to look you up on? Do you have on Facebook they can find you, or
John Duncan 4332 on Instagram?
On Instagram,
and it's the same on Facebook.
On Facebook,
it's the same handle. So
and that way they can see you, see some more of the photos. Will there be a Taking It Easy Portland in 2023?
I'm thinking about more of a memoir now.
Memoir, okay.
With a friend of mine, we're talking about, because I'm better at talking than, it's hard to sit down and write.
Yeah.
The kind of the flow of,
of the thing. It's right.
I'm better at talking it out. So it would be good to sit with somebody.
Have them write it, transcribe it for you.
Yeah, record it.
Yeah. So look for that memoir. I want to thank you very much for your time, John.
Yeah,
all right. We'll be right back. Thanks.
Indy. Got another story for him, man. Let's go. Yeah. Sick of this jam. Now, look at these games. I've done what you played. Look what you did. No more chase, no more looking in my face. Don't care what you say, now look what you did. I'm tired of getting beaten up, every time I'm a damage. I didn't have enough, all this is freaking panic. Got to beat me up, looking at all the damage, yeah. Now tell me baby, now look what you did. I'm sorry that I did this, yeah. You gotta burn from your wish, now have your day. Toss it up, I've been really doing much. I gotta tell him that I'm really done, I'm giving up. I'm thinking about myself when I'm going home. I gotta make it for the fam and I do it alone. Damn, I'm crying, I'm saying words. Nobody help when you really in the hurt. Nobody put their hand out from the dirt. They just leave you there to die when you want the dirt. God, I can't really get it back, I'm praying, Lord. And if you wanna help me, then look up above. Somebody can tell me something now. I'm really a thug, but I'm just trying to get out of this world. I'm thinking I'm up. There now I lost. Can I get it back? I'm trying to come away from world that's slinging that bag. I wanna be something different, maybe your dad. Maybe they can give me what I had. I'm taking it back. Know what you did, know what you did, know what you did. Look what you did, know what you did, know what you did. Know what you did, know what you did, know what you did. Look what you did, know what you did, know what you did. Know what you did, know what you did, know what you did. Now what you did, now what you did, now what you did, huh? Now what you did, now what you did, now what you did.
Looking for my sunshine, looking for my sunshine. Dark clouds been moving around. Need my sunshine to be found. Looking for my sunshine, looking for my sunshine. Woke up to that morning sky first. Oh, baby blue, just like we rehearsed. I get up off the ground and shake the leaves back to the brown, round, round, and then I'm clean. And I walk by where I'm shaded by the tree, but the mantle of green. And for about a mile, and I'm headed to town, town, town in the south. With all my favorite colors, all my favorite colors. My sisters and my brother, I see them like no other. All my favorite colors. It's a good day to be, a good day for me, a good day to see my favorite colors. My sisters and my brothers, I see them like no other. All my favorite colors. To that other side, little baby. Thank you so much. Oh my God. You guys are so fucking awesome. It's so great to be here with you guys.
He asked. You gotta do it now, dude.
I don't think we have the right permits for that. But we got time for one last song for you guys. It's the latest single that I put out. It's called "Make a Fuss." You can find it wherever you find your music. And I hope you would maybe make a fuss about it and tell your friends. Oh shit. I should thank you for all your love. How do I should thank you for all your love? Give me patience, but don't worry. Hold me close and let me hurry out to the canyon where I can scream, screams right back the loudest screams. And I don't need to make a fuss. Shouldn't take for granted all the cards that I'm holding close. Shouldn't suffocate all the hearts crying out when they need it most. Would undo a whole year if I knew it would bring back the fear. Should thank you. I don't need to make a fuss. Shouldn't take for granted all the cards that I'm holding close. Shouldn't suffocate when they need it should thank you for all your love. Thank you so much. You guys have been so fantastic.
Thank you, everybody, for watching the show tonight. Stick with us next week. We got another great show for you. Good night. Take care.